did you guys know that it turns out that we can deport them after all?
No, I didn't actually.
Yeah, Sweden has decided that yeah, actually we can deport people after all. It's a thing that we can do. Now we're going to have to be a little bit careful here because, of course, this is something happening in Sweden, and in this country, you actually go on a watch list if you advocate for deporting anyone. So I
I
would
would
just
never
like,
do such a
yes,
thing.
I would just like to start off by saying that I fully support the British government in everything that it is doing, and actually all of these dangerous criminals that Sweden is about to deport, we should of course bring them here because that will keep me off a list.
Wait, so this rule that if you advocate anything of that sort,
Yes.
that also includes if you just say like the violent criminals and grooming gangs.
Yeah, the British government put out basically its priorities for policing and intelligence services, and the largest part of that was focusing on people who advocate for deportations. A small bit was about Islamic terrorism, but the largest part was about people who advocate deportations. So that's what the intelligence service and the British police spend most of their time on, according to the documents that they themselves put out.
There is a big threat to the public from those calling for deportations.
Yes,
Which is
so
the
of
public
course,
might be safer.
yes, of
Once
course,
again, just ask the question: how will this prevent terrorism?
similar point. Yes, so we are not advocating this here. However, the Sweden have gone down this route. So let's start with this article from the BBC. They're very guarded in this language, but they sort of make the point here. They explain that Sweden's prime minister has summoned the head of the army to help curb a surge in gang killings. Mr. Am I getting this right? Kristersson's centre-right minority government, which came to power last year with the support of the anti-immigration Swedish Democrats, has not yet been able to stem the violence. The Prime Minister said on Thursday he would push ahead with surveillance, harsher penalties for breaking gun laws, stronger deportation powers, and stop and search zones. Now, the BBC underplay this very significantly by simply adding the line stronger deportation powers. So I'm going to have to come up with some other sources, including the Prime Minister's statement himself, to explain what's really going on. But I did quite like the BBC article because it's got this brilliant line that, after hearing this, the BBC went off and decided to speak to some community organisers to see what they thought. And they said that they were deeply disappointed in these plans to address underlying social issues. One of them, Sazika Hershey, head of group linked to Amnesty International, called for more action on child poverty and increased resources for youth clubs and community services and sports centres. So the reason that Sweden is obviously experiencing this dramatic surge in bombings, shootings, and all the rest of it is because they do not have enough youth centres.
If only they could be playing darts or pool or
Yes.
something.
Yes.
You know, the Swedes, the Swedish youth.
Mm.
How
Well-
could they do this to Sweden?
You can sort of imagine the mentality, can't you? Thinking, well, we're about to place this bomb in this flat or this car, but hang on, they've got
Okay,
some ping
Seamus,
pong
why?
tables down the road.
Wouldn't I prefer to be playing air hockey right now?
Well, yes, exactly. So
No, drug money's pretty good.
that's the BBC's take on this.
Why commit this terrorism, boys, when we could go for a round of bowling right now?
You know,
Yes.
that does actually sound like a government advert.
Oh,
Would you want to bet they're going to do that?
It'll be the advertised image will be they'll be like rolling a bomb down the lane or something and it explodes. Strike! Yeah!
And all of the actors are going to have to be recast, so they're all white Swedish.
Well, yeah, of course. So the most
Yes.
Otherwise it'll never get aired.
looking Swedish men ever.
You know that happened with the grooming gangs
yeah. Well,
in Yorkshire?
yes. Every so often I see adverts. There was one about somebody harassing people on the tube that cast a white actor, but I didn't see the Yorkshire one.
No, but it's not even like ridiculous. Like
Right.
it was a scandal internally because the Yorkshire police said, "Hey, we have a bit of a problem going on. So what we want you to do, Mr. Advertisement Man, is to make an advertisement warning young girls to be on the lookout for people who are grooming them and
Yes.
to see the signs." So they shot the advert and they cast the perpetrators as Asian men, and then the advert
Ah.
was blocked by Ofcom on the basis it would cause racial tension. So they reshot the advert with white men being the perpetrators,
Yeah,
and then it was allowed to be shown.
I wouldn't knock it too much because those are basically the only jobs that white men can get in advertising these days. So we don't want to shut that off.
Point.
Now I'm going to do a quick plug because the boss man, he's going to be back in a couple of days. So quickly use the code SARGON you cheeky YouTube people who aren't currently on the website, use the code Sargon with an E, and you'll get 50% off your subscription for the next 3 months. And Bossman is going to be back in a couple of days and realize what we've done and turn that code off. So, you've got a couple of days to do that. Then I will go to the next link, which is which I thought was contained hilarity, but it sort of lays out the situation as to how Sweden got into this situation. It explains once peaceful Sweden is grappling with a major crime wave that includes murder, gun violence, and bombings at a level unwitnessed by its peers and neighbours. The chief police, Anders Thornberg, admitted, "This is a society we don't want." Then goes off to list a whole bunch of blah blah blah, killings, shootings, blah 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 blah.
That almost sounded like the brass eye. This is the one thing we didn't want to happen.
Now, according to the Nordic top cop, the reason for the drastic decline in safety is impossible to fathom. He mentions that he cautiously admits there are those who claim immigration could have been a factor.
What does the empirical evidence bear out if you were to, say, look at proportional statistics?
Oh, yeah, basically immigration go up, shootings, bombings, and rapes go up. Yeah. Yes.
I can't wrap my head around
But this guy...
far right, obviously.
Yes, but this chap who is, I would venture, no Sherlock Holmes, is unable to make the connection himself and is baffled by this. When asked why Sweden's peers are free of such problems, Thornberg said he doesn't really have a good explanation for that either. Suggesting...
I'm sorry. Like, you're literally across the sea, right in front of you is Poland.
Yes.
And you have no idea what the difference between Captain Sweden and Poland is.
Or even Norway or Finland or the Danes. I mean,
they did a similar problem. I mean, the Danes fixed it.
Never quite as bad as Sweden.
Is the worst of the Nordics for sure. But I love how literally Poland is right there, and Poland is the meme country of zero.
Yes, but this sort of detective work is beyond Mr. Thornberg. Yes, he said he doesn't have a really good explanation for that, and he suggests that perhaps this should be researched.
But what if the research doesn't have nice conclusions?
Well, yes, that could
what
be
if
that could be tricky.
would, for instance, ban the results of this research?
Yes, apparently a reporter did put it to him and said, "Well, okay, take an area of Stockholm. So this is one particular bit of Stockholm, of one city, the area of Java. They said that there's as many fatal shootings in this particular district of Stockholm as there is in the whole of Norway for a year." But Mr. Thornberg did not engage with that point. So anyway, yes. So police have spent the last few years being completely baffled as to why the rise in immigration has gone hand in hand with a rise in stabbings, shootings, rapes, and murders. But what this article does point out is that Swedish police now getting $4 billion in funding, which has doubled since the immigration wave began. So that potentially contains a clue. $4 billion is a lot of money. That's as much as we spend.
I just mean, like, Sweden's been going through this for a while.
Yes,
it's not new.
But $4 billion is a lot. That's how much we spend on our nuclear submarine program, or 2 weeks' interest on the national debt. So yes, quite a lot. Now, I've got a video for you of what's changed lately, and we can just play that in the background because it's in Swedish, so it probably won't mean an awful lot to you. But so I'm going to translate for you from the Prime Minister of Sweden. You have to jump in a bit because there's a bit of boring stuff. Yeah, it's just a little visual treat there that you. Oh,
you treat us with such eye candy. Thank you, Dan.
Now he says, how could this become so bad? The fact is that many saw this coming and warned about it. Organised crime has grown in over a decade. In just 10 years, violent, deadly shootings have tripled. It is political naivety and ignorance that has brought us here. It is a reckless immigration policy, a failed integration that has brought us here. Exclusion of parallel societies feeding criminal gangs. They can recklessly recruit children and educate the murderers of the futures. Swedish law is not designed for gang warfare and child soldiers. Yes, what was it about Sweden prior to the 2010s that had a legal system that was simply inequipped for people who fall completely outside of civilizational norms? We will never know. Anyway, he says, but that changes now. The government is changing the migration policy. We are doubling sentences for serious weapon crimes and crimes involving explosives. We are going to introduce containment sentences so that really dangerous criminals never get out. And the key bit, we will deport those foreign criminals that are involved in gangs, even if they have not been convicted of any crime. So, I mean, he's not hanging about on this one.
So that's
Presuming he follows through with this anyway.
So that's if the individuals haven't committed a crime but are involved in the criminal gangs that have collectively.
It's basically the Bukele model, which is if you're involved in this gang, you're just out. You're gone.
I mean,
Yes.
I don't care.
Apparently,
Yes.
It can be gone.
yeah. Apparently, the UK government forbids me from airing an opinion on.
Yes, you're not allowed to say that that's a good thing in any way. Well, I suppose you could say it's a good
But
thing
this
for
is pretty
Sweden.
amazing, actually, because I mean, like Sweden a few years ago, I don't remember now, but
Yeah.
the government was a joke for
Yes.
everyone. Like they were so
Mm.
just silly. I mean, I don't know what a better word for them because it really was just silly.
Yes.
Frankly, they'd come out with like, "Oh, we have a new feminist foreign policy." Do you remember that one?
Yeah, it was all about maximizing the feminist angle,
Well,
wasn't
But
it?
they had a feminist foreign policy to deal with Russia. And of course, everyone was just like, okay, like they were
Yeah.
already a joke on immigration. To get to the point now where they're actually fixing themselves, hopefully, that's a massive turnaround.
Yes. Well, if he follows through, yeah. If he doesn't get stymied, if it doesn't get blocked, if civil rights lawyers and judges and all the rest of it. But as a statement of intention, I mean, that's pretty bold. You did a segment at the weekend, didn't you, Harry, on drill rap gangs?
That wasn't on the weekend, but yes,
Oh,
I think
okay.
it came out over the weekend. Well, it was
Yeah.
talking about the Chris Kava situation.
Yes. Now, if look, obviously we don't endorse doing any sort of this, Swedish stuff here, British police. But that sort of thing could be applied here to those sort of drill rap gangs.
Well, it would be incredibly easy because what I unearthed through a few quick and easy Google searches there is in fact a UK drill website
Hmm.
which has a map on it that has all of the territorial locations of all of these drill rap gangs. And even more than that, the otherwise, as far as I'm aware, neutral website Genius, which posts music lyrics from songs on it, has a web page that breaks down all of the drill gangs and who they are allies and enemies with.
Yes.
This is how much detailed information any rando can find through Google
Yeah.
looking into these things. And the British police in London just can't do anything about it, apparently.
So
They
yes.
have the gang affiliations, who they're enemies with, who they're allies with, and a literal map showing the locations they
Yeah.
operate in. London police throw their hands in the air, go, nothing to do with us.
So I would just make the observation that obviously in El Salvador, it got to the point where they decided, sod it. If you're a member of MS-13, you're going in a cell for the rest of your life. And Sweden has got to the point where they've decided, okay, if you're a member of one of these gangs, you're gone. You're getting deported. It would appear that we have not yet got to the point where that sort of thinking has made it over here. Thank goodness, British police. Because that would be awful if we would decide to toughen up on some of this stuff. So, I mean, I could give you a whole list of, shootings, bombings. There was a particularly nasty one at the weekend where they basically put a bomb in an apartment and then just blew up the neighbours as well.
Yeah, one of our commenters told us about it. I think it happened on Friday morning.
Yeah.
So,
Some poor woman went to bed and never woke up in the morning, just blown up in the middle of the night. Apparently, Sweden now has 61 no-go zones. Yes, where the police can't enter.
the police can't or won't.
Well, I suppose they have to get really tooled up if they're going to go in. Thus the Prime Minister saying he's going to bring.
So
in
that's
the
just
military.
out of the nature of how dangerous the criminals that operate within those zones are.
Yes,
Bloody hell.
yes. The new police chief, I didn't get the name, but he says things haven't been this bad in this country since 1945, and warned that they are facing a
So
systematic.
literally since the last World War
Yes,
is when things were...
When we were surrounded by Nazis and Soviets, things were better.
When bombs were dropping out of the sky,
yes.
it was...
Well, Sweden was neutral.
Well, yeah,
so-
they were neutral, but still, in places outside of us, bombs were dropping out of the sky. Now they're just being planted on our domestic
Yes,
soil.
that's an interesting question. Was it actually better in Stockholm in 1944? I mean,
Probably safer
yes.
for your average man walking the street.
and and probably fewer rapes as well, I would imagine. But
Almost certainly.
yes, I don't know. Anyway, so the new police guy has warned that they're on the verge of a systematic societal collapse.
That's what you want to hear from your prime minister.
Lovely.
Yes. So I mean, it's got another figure I dug out. It was 125 bombings in Sweden so far this year, and that's one almost every other day.
You have the grenade attacks list. I'm gonna see if I can find it. There's a Wikipedia list. I'm pretty sure it's grenade attacks in Sweden, and it's just become a meme because it is unbelievably long.
So while you're finding that, I'll tell you the key things that came out of this new policy move. So the military is going to be deployed to fight these gangs because the police obviously can't do it. Deporting foreign criminals in gangs, even if they haven't been convicted of any crimes. Building new prisons to separate the younger ones from the adult criminals. Doubling sentences for serious weapon crimes involving explosives. Making sure all children learn Swedish. I would have thought that was...
Sorry, but
yes, one of these things on the list is
oh, come on.
one of these things is not like the other things. I mean,
we have to crack down on the criminals. First things first, Swedish lessons.
I mean, where
it tells you something.
Where's the lessons that tell them not to rape people?
Well, they're written in Swedish, so they can't read it.
Okay.
Exactly.
Do you not remember that actually was a thing? Do you remember the armbands? Do you know about the armbands?
Oh, that was the thing they tried in Germany, wasn't it?
Oh, it was in Sweden first, I think. So they would make these little armbands that said "Don't rape me" in Swedish, and then they'd give it to Swedish girls because that's the way to deal with rape.
Well, yeah.
And obviously the response
Isn't
was
that literally
can't read Swedish, so
that's literally the opposite of like feminist policy on how to deal with rape anyway, even in the West, where you just say we need to teach men not to rape instead of women to defend themselves.
That's
impressive.
I've got an idea. What if I wear a wristband that says "Don't tax me"? Do you think that would work?
Worth a try.
I mean, same logic.
at least it's in the language they can read.
Yes. And the last thing on the list, introduce tougher sentences so that dangerous criminals will never get out of prison. So this is fairly encouraging. And our man Musk.
I think that was it at the end there.
Oh yes, okay, yes. So our man Musk responded to the news that Sweden will be deporting people involved in gangs with a tweet that simply read, "Good." So yes. Well done. Elon, did you find that list, Callum?
The grenade list?
Yes.
You want to see the grenade list?
Yes. Can you?
Okay.
Do we have that technology?
I will send it to John now. I will put it in Studio One. It's literally just a Wikipedia list. I think it's not being updated anymore because people just got bored.
Right.
Which
yes,
too much.
That's sad.
When it gets to the point that grenade attacks are just such a boring aspect of daily life, you can't even be bothered.
Oh yeah, they
to
just
update
stopped
Wikipedia.
sometime in 2018.
Oh,
so
bloody hell.
if we scroll up on that a little bit, then I'll show you. Here you go. So
Each of these is an individual hand grenade attack.
So someone gave up at this point because this Wikipedia list has been going for ages and it's been a meme for a long time. It's just like, yeah, this is normal in a country where you can't buy grenades. So who's doing all the grenading? Just random Swedish men with their pickled herrings.
Clearly.
All right, now what's the population of Sweden? It can't be that much, can it? No, I can't.
I imagine they're quite a sparse population.
You're trying to do quick maths.
Well, I was going to if I could actually find the population, but for there to be what is it? So a shooting every couple of days, a grenade attack. However, I can't even tell from this list because it was so many.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 10 million. So so to translate this into British, you've got to multiply everything by about 8 to get the scale of this.
So times this list by 8, and this isn't even a complete list because they gave up.
Yeah,
and that's Swedish life.
Yeah. So anyway, Sweden, as well as El Salvador, has decided that enough is enough, and they're just gonna deal with their gangs, irrespective of whether you can prove an individual crime in that particular case. The fact that you're a member of the gang is good enough. Obviously, we don't want to do that sort of stuff here, British police, because we do not endorse deportations in any way, even if it would stop people from being murdered and brutalized, because nothing is worse than deportations.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, why not visit our website, where you can get the podcast live, in full, uncensored, and for free from 1 o'clock UK time every weekday. And while you're there, for as little as £5 a month, you can access all of our premium content, such as our new series, Lads Hour, where 5 of us, guests included, sit around a table and discuss hard-hitting topics like what animal we could fight this week. And for more silliness from the rest of our hosts, you can follow Harry over at Harry Lotus Eater on Twitter, and all of us over at LotusEaters_com. Until next time, goodbye.